Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're continuing with the next part of this epic time chamber series. My name is Ash. Please, for me, drop a like, join the Patreon, and subscribe to the page. Also, leave your comments down below. With that, let's begin.
Cross my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
Vegeta scoffed, brushing Broly's hand aside. "I don't need help," he said curtly, stepping forward with his usual prideful air. Together, they hovered just above the ground, their bodies caught in a strange moment of suspension as the air around them crackled with raw energy. For a single heartbeat, it felt as if they were neither here nor there, existing between worlds. With a simultaneous grunt, they leapt forward into the swirling vortex. As they crossed the threshold, the world around them shattered, time and space folded inward, reality stretching and twisting like molten glass. Behind them, the dimensional crack began to heal itself, the mountain restoring the tear with a slow, deliberate hum. They emerged into Universe 7, their feet landing firmly on familiar ground. But the moment they arrived, the air around them seemed to thicken. The atmosphere pulsed with suffocating energy, like a tidal wave of raw power crashing against their senses. Both warriors instinctively tensed, their eyes narrowing as they scanned their surroundings. The overwhelming surge of energy was impossible to miss, radiating so intensely that even Vegeta's breath caught in his throat. "Do you feel that?" Broly asked, his voice low and taut with unease. Vegeta nodded, his expression grim. "It's coming from the battle," he said. His jaw tightened as he focused on the source of the immense energy. "Whoever it is, they're on another level." The two warriors stood side by side, their senses sharp and their bodies brimming with readiness as the suffocating aura drew them in. "Wait, Kakarot!" Vegeta shouted, his voice booming as he suddenly sensed a familiar energy signature. His eyes widened with disbelief. "You're alive! I knew it!" His fists clenched at his sides, a rare moment of relief washing over him. "You've been helping us all this time, haven't you?" But what Vegeta failed to realize was that time moved differently in the fourth dimension. What felt like mere moments to them could have been much longer outside. Before Vegeta could process it further, his sharp senses caught another presence. He frowned, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Wait, is that Gohan?" he muttered, his eyes narrowed as he tried to make sense of the key he felt. "No, it can't be. Gohan is dead. But this energy, it's close. Not the same, but too similar to ignore." Broly's deep voice broke through Vegeta's thoughts. "Oh, right. I forgot to tell you. I wished Gohan back to life." "You did what?" Vegeta roared, his voice echoing across the empty expanse of space. His disbelief quickly turned to irritation as he turned on Broly. "How is that even possible? The Dragon Balls were turned to stone after we fought the Grand Priest." Broly shrugged, his expression calm despite Vegeta's outrage. "I used the Namekian Dragon Balls. I made the wish to Porunga when I was sent to the past by Wukong." Vegeta's jaw tightened as he processed this. "Sent to the past? What in the hell are you talking about?" Broly looked away for a moment, his mind flashing back to the strange events Wukong had orchestrated. "It happened when we were fighting the Grand Priest," he said. "You were unconscious. Wukong sent me to the past, but I'm not even sure why." Internally, Broly reached out to the presence in his mind. "Hey, old king," he called. "Why did you send me to the past? What was the point?" Before Wukong could answer, Vegeta cut in again, his frustration palpable. "Unconscious?" he repeated, his arms crossed tightly. "How much happened while I was out? There are too many gaps in this story." Before Broly could respond, both warriors froze as another powerful energy surged into their senses. The sheer magnitude of it forced them to snap their heads toward its source. "Is that Piccolo?" Vegeta exclaimed, his eyes widening. "When did he get this strong?" He clenched his fists as he tried to comprehend what he was feeling. "He may even be stronger than Lord Beerus. What in the world is going on?" Broly's face grew tense as he also recognized the intensity of Piccolo's aura. It felt raw, focused, and battle-hardened. "Piccolo's fighting," Broly said, his voice heavy with concern. The realization struck them both like a lightning bolt. They had left Piccolo in charge of protecting their families. "Chilai!" Broly shouted, his heart pounding in his chest. "Bulma! Bulla!" Vegeta exclaimed almost simultaneously. Their breaths quickened as the truth became undeniable. Piccolo was fighting, likely to protect the people they loved. but the energy surrounding Goku and Gohan was unmistakable. It clashed violently with the Grand Priest's unparalleled aura. Vegeta clenched his teeth, his mind racing. "We can't be in two places at once," he muttered bitterly. Broly stepped forward, placing a firm hand on Vegeta's shoulder. "Leave their protection to me," he said, his voice steady with resolve. His eyes gleamed with determination as he looked directly at Vegeta. "You and Goku need to focus on the Grand Priest. That fight is just as important. I'll protect your family and mine." For a moment, Vegeta hesitated, his pride and duty warring within him. But when he met Broly's gaze, he saw something unshakable. "All right," Vegeta said at last, his voice quiet but resolute. "I promised Kakarot I'd come back for him after he sacrificed himself for me. I'll finish what we started." Broly nodded, a faint smile crossing his face. "Then it's decided," he said. "This is where we part ways, for now. But you better kick that deity's ass. Once I'm done here, I'll join you." Vegeta smirked faintly, his pride shining through despite the situation. "You better not die, Broly. You hear me?" With a quick motion, he placed 2 fingers on his forehead and focused on the distant energy of Goku and Gohan. "Instant transmission!" Vegeta called out, vanishing in a blink of light. At that moment, the clouds beneath Broly's feet began to shift, glowing with a faint silver light. The air seemed to hum with energy as one of Wukong's abilities activated. The ground beneath him rippled like water as he prepared to move. Broly glanced upward, his voice low but fierce. "I'm coming, Chilai," he muttered. With a sudden burst of speed, he shot forward, the Nimbus strike propelling him toward Piccolo and the danger surrounding their loved ones. Though they traveled in different directions, both warriors carried the same purpose: a fiery determination to protect their friends and families at any cost. The scene shifts to a celestial plane, unlike any mortal could imagine. A vast expanse of shimmering light and swirling energy fills the second dimension, a realm far beyond mortal comprehension. It is here that Kwansei, the wife of the Grand Priest and guardian of the Heart Gem, resides. Within her being rests a jewel of unfathomable power, the key to unlocking the first dimension, a domain housing Zeno's father, the current king of all. Zeno himself is but a successor undergoing his trial for ultimate sovereignty. As Zeno floated in the ethereal space, his once childlike demeanor was now overtaken by an eerie calmness. His small hands, glowing faintly with divine energy, hovered over Kwansei's chest. He murmured to himself, his voice cold and deliberate. "All these years of waiting, of orchestrating chaos, and now my patience is finally rewarded." The Heart Gem pulsed faintly, a living, breathing fragment of pure cosmic energy. Zeno's fingers sank into Kwansei's chest without resistance, as if reaching into water. Her calm gaze never faltered, even as her body began to waver like a mirage. With a triumphant pull, Zeno withdrew the Heart Gem, the glowing crystal illuminating his expression of cold satisfaction. The radiant gem thrummed with immeasurable energy, each pulse rippling across the dimension like a heartbeat. Zeno whispered, almost to himself, This will lead me to him." As soon as the Heart Gem left her form, Kwansei's body began to dissipate. Her form unraveled into streams of shimmering light, the energy returning to its origin, the Grand Priest. Her purpose fulfilled, she closed her eyes, a serene smile playing on her lips. "It was always meant to be this way," she whispered softly, her voice fading with her form. Zeno watched her disappear with a detached gaze. "The time has come," he muttered, turning his attention back to the gem. He tightened his grip, the radiating power making the very space around him tremble. Meanwhile, outside the multiverse in the third dimension, destruction and chaos reigned where Zeno's palace once stood. The grandiose structure had been obliterated during the battle, leaving behind a smoldering battlefield. Debris floated amidst the cosmic void, remnants of what was once a symbol of absolute power. The Grand Priest floated silently over the ruins, his serene demeanor masking the immense power now fully restored to him. His eyes narrowed as he descended toward Goku, whose body lay motionless on the ground, battered and broken. Suddenly, a flash of movement pierced the smoky haze. "Father!" a voice roared, filled with desperation and fury. Gohan charged forward, his aura blazing like a wildfire. Sparks danced across his tattered clothes as his sheer speed ripped through the air. With a primal scream, Gohan wound up a devastating punch, aiming directly at the Grand Priest's head. The air around his fist crackled with energy, and the ground below buckled under the force of his charge. But the Grand Priest was unflinching. With a single, effortless motion, he caught Gohan's fist mid-swing. The impact sent shockwaves outward, scattering debris and creating a deafening boom. The Grand Priest's grip was like iron, his calm eyes locking on to Gohan's enraged glare. "Such raw power," the Grand Priest said, his voice devoid of emotion. "But power without control is meaningless." With a flick of his wrist, he swung Gohan's entire body like a rag doll, slamming him toward the ground. Gohan twisted midair, forcing himself to land on his feet, but the impact created a massive crater beneath him. Dust and smoke erupted from the ground as the battlefield quaked. Gohan rose slowly, his body trembling from the sheer force of the exchange. His fists clenched tightly as he growled, "I won't let you hurt him." As the Grand Priest loomed over Goku's battered form, his smile widened into something cruel, his words cold and deliberate. "I'm going to enjoy this," he said, his voice calm yet filled with menace. He gazed down at the unconscious Saiyan, his energy rippling faintly. "The Saiyan race doesn't deserve a place in the new world Xeno will create. And it's all thanks to you, Goku." The Grand Priest let the weight of his words linger in the air. His tone turned almost mocking. "Because of you, your entire race will vanish. Not just from the universes, but from every dimension that ever existed. You've doomed them all." His hand curled into a tight fist, an ominous energy beginning to swirl around it. This was no ordinary power. The glow around his fist shimmered with a mixture of Rashi and Kai, a fusion of the two primordial forces of creation and destruction. The air grew heavy, bending and trembling under the strain of this concentrated energy. If this attack connected, it wouldn't just injure, it would obliterate its target entirely from the inside out. The Grand Priest raised his glowing fist high. The space around them seemed to shrink under the weight of his attack. With a motion as swift as it was deadly, he swung his fist downward, aiming directly at Goku's head. "No!" Gohan's voice thundered across the battlefield. He launched himself forward, his aura burning bright as he raced to intercept the strike. The ground cracked beneath his feet as he pushed his speed to the limit. But even at his full velocity, he was too slow. The Grand Priest's strike was moments away from ending Goku's life. At the last possible second, Goku's arm shot up, his fingers closing around the Grand Priest's fist. The clash sent shockwaves rippling through the ground. Cracks spidered out beneath them, as if the planet itself were recoiling from the impact. "What?" The Grand Priest's composure faltered, his eyes widening in disbelief. "How can this be?" Goku's eyes remained closed, his body still appearing lifeless. Yet his grip on the Grand Priest's fist was ironclad. The Grand Priest struggled, but his fist wouldn't budge. Then, without warning, Goku's eyes snapped open, glowing silver and filled with a calm yet overpowering energy. Before the Grand Priest could react, Goku's free hand thrust forward, unleashing a powerful, one-handed Kamehameha. The blazing blue beam roared to life, forcing the Grand Priest to release his trapped fist and leap backward into the air. The energy attack narrowly missed him, rocketing past and exploding into the void of space with a blinding flash. Hovering midair, the Grand Priest's expression turned grim. He observed Goku carefully, his mind racing. This power, how is he still able to access the Omniform after the Aquafoam was extracted? Goku's body began to levitate, rising effortlessly off the ground. Silver energy radiated from him in waves, the heat and intensity causing the space around him to distort. His aura flared suddenly, expanding outward like a living force. The very fabric of reality seemed to crack, and the sky, or what passed for it, tore open, revealing a swirling void beyond. His power stretched infinitely outward, seemingly touching the edges of the universe. "This mortal," the Grand Priest murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "He truly is something beyond comprehension. But how? How did he manage to maintain this form?" The Grand Priest's mind raced as he considered the implications. He had expected Universe 7 to collapse along with the others once the Aquafoam was removed. Yet it remained intact. The thought of Vegeta crossed his mind briefly, but he dismissed it. Vegeta hadn't fully mastered the Omniform. No, this anomaly had to be Goku's doing. But how? How did he do it? The Grand Priest wondered aloud, his usually stoic demeanor cracked by the weight of his confusion. Above them, the heavens reacted to Goku's transformation. Blinding silver lightning arced across the sky and tearing through everything it touched. Entire chunks of the battlefield were vaporized in an instant. Even Gohan, standing nearby, had to leap back to avoid being struck by the chaotic bolts. One bolt surged directly toward the Grand Priest. Before he could move, his staff materialized in front of him, absorbing the lightning in a flash of light. The staff, acting on its own, quickly retreated to his side, ready for the next strike. Gohan shielded his eyes from the radiant energy surrounding his father, struggling to process what was happening. The sheer intensity of Goku's transformation was overwhelming. Meanwhile, Goku floated higher, his aura pulsing rhythmically as he examined his hands. His glowing silver hair and eyes reflected the divine energy coursing through him. He spoke softly, almost to himself. Is this Gohan's doing? Goku's mind raced as he pieced together the sensation. He remembered the faint energy coursing through him after Gohan had healed him. His son's manipulation of ki had triggered something far beyond what either of them had expected. As Gohan stood frozen, his wide eyes locked on his father's glowing form, an overwhelming mixture of shock and joy surged through him. His mouth parted slightly as he processed the transformation unfolding before him. The air around Goku had changed entirely. His aura wasn't just powerful, it felt alive, stretching endlessly into the cosmos, a manifestation of pure, infinite energy. This is it, Gohan whispered to himself, his voice barely audible, his fists clenched tightly, his knuckles cracking as hope reignited in his chest. This is exactly what we needed to turn this battle around. He turned his attention to the Grand Priest, who hovered nearby, his expression as calm as ever, but his eyes sharp with careful analysis. Gohan's heart pounded in anticipation. With Goku's mastered omniform restored and his own strength at its peak, Gohan felt the impossible was now within reach. Together, they could stand a chance against even the mightiest foe. Goku's transformation wasn't just a miraculous event. It was the culmination of countless forces aligning. What even Gohan didn't realize was that he, through sheer instinct and mastery of ki, had unknowingly played a pivotal role in restoring his father to this state. The process had begun earlier, when Gohan healed Goku during their brief reprieve. At the time, Gohan had drawn upon his immense knowledge and mastery of ki manipulation, a skill honed through relentless training and understanding of the body's inner workings. By transferring his own energy into Goku, Gohan had unintentionally rebuilt his father's damaged cells. It was a precise and delicate act, one that even Whis would have admired, rebuilding Goku's cellular structure from the ground up. The ki lay in the aquafoam, a divine substance that had fused with Goku long ago, intertwining with every part of his being. The aquafoam had chosen Goku, not just as a host, but as its perfect vessel, merging with him down to the cellular level. Zeno's earlier extraction of the aquafoam had removed 90% of its energy, but a trace, hidden deep within Goku's cells, remained. However, that trace had gone dormant. The human body is fragile when compared to divine energy, and Goku's cells had suffered massive damage regulating the aquafoam. To protect both itself and its host, the aquafoam retreated, lying in wait until Goku's life force could sustain it again. When the Grand Priest restored Goku's energy earlier, it only returned his immediate strength. It wasn't enough to awaken the dormant aquafoam. The Grand Priest, though immensely powerful, lacked Gohan's understanding of ki manipulation and couldn't heal Goku at the cellular level, but Gohan could. His act of rebuilding Goku's cells inadvertently reawakened the aquafoam, and now, with Goku's energy fully replenished and his cells whole once more, the aquafoam surged to life, intertwining seamlessly with his mastered omniform. What stood before the Grand Priest and Gohan now wasn't just Goku restored, it was Goku reborn. The Grand Priest observed silently, his gaze sharp, as he pieced together the transformation's mechanics. So, he murmured, his voice barely audible, the aquafoam, it never truly left him. It burrowed itself deep within, waiting for the right conditions to awaken. And this is the result. He tightened his grip on his staff. This mortal, he truly is unlike any mortal I've encountered. Meanwhile, Goku floated higher, inspecting his own hands, his expression a mixture of curiosity and awe. The radiant energy flowing through him felt new, yet familiar, like an old friend returned with greater purpose. His glowing white eyes reflected an unshakable calm, and his voice carried a soft but determined tone as he spoke. "Gohan," he said, finally breaking the silence. His son looked up sharply, caught off guard by the steadiness in Goku's voice. "Is this your doing?" Gohan hesitated, unsure of how to respond. "Dad, I just healed you." "I didn't," Goku cut him off with a small smile. "Whatever you did, it worked." The Grand Priest's eyes narrowed as he studied Goku intently. His usually serene demeanor was beginning to crack under the weight of his confusion. "This level of power, he's powerful. But," he said with a stern voice. He spoke once more. "It's not anything I can't handle." Lightning continued to dance wildly across the sky, each strike shaking the ground below. Goku, still hovering, clenched his fists experimentally, feeling the energy coursing through him. The sheer power wasn't just overwhelming, it was limitless. "This," Goku muttered, his voice barely above a whisper as he stared at his glowing hands. "This is what it feels like to be complete." And that's it for today's episode, guys. If you watched to the end, then that could be an indication that you enjoy the series. So please leave a like on the video. Thank you and take care.